Chapter 1, Ranger on the Run. In the vast, uncharted territories of the FRB Nebula, where stars flickered like distant memories and cosmic winds whispered secrets long forgotten, John Smith was in a pickle, and not the kind of pickle that could be resolved with a quick bite or a witty remark, although he had plenty of those up his sleeve. No, this was the kind of situation that demanded immediate attention, a dash of luck, and perhaps a miracle or two. John's ship, the SS Quirky, was hurtling through space at an alarming speed, its quantum flux capacitor behaving as if it had a mind of its own. The control panels blinked erratically, casting eerie shadows across the cockpit as alarms blared with the urgency of a toddler demanding attention. John, with his tousled hair and perpetual smirk, wrestled with the controls, trying to regain some semblance of order. "Well, this is another fine mess you've gotten us into," chimed in Jill, his holographic wife and ever-present co-pilot. Her projection flickered to life beside him, crossing her arms in mock disapproval. She had been designed to offer companionship and guidance, but over the years, her programming had evolved into something more akin to sardonic partnership. "Hey, I didn't ask for a quantum meltdown," John retorted, gritting his teeth as he adjusted the ship's trajectory. "Besides, what's life without a little chaos? Less crash landings, for one," Jill quipped back, her digital eyes narrowing playfully. "And speaking of which, you might want to brace yourself." Before John could respond with another witty comeback, the ship lurched violently. The nebula outside transformed into a swirling blur of colors as gravity took hold and pulled them toward an uncharted planet. A planet that, according to every navigational database John had access to, simply didn't exist. The SS Quirky plummeted through layers of atmosphere with all the grace of a drunken swan dive. John clung to his seat as the ship rocked and shuddered under the strain. Through the viewport, he caught sight of their impending landing zone, a vast field of luminescent mushrooms that glowed with an otherworldly light. "Those mushrooms better be softer than they look," John muttered under his breath as the ship made contact with the ground. There was a bone-jarring thud followed by the groan of metal protesting its rough treatment. The ship finally came to rest amid a cloud of disturbed spores that danced through the air like tiny fireflies. Jill's hologram flickered momentarily before stabilizing. "Well, at least we landed on something soft," she remarked dryly. John unstrapped himself from his seat and surveyed the damage. The control panels were dark, save for a few flickering lights that stubbornly refused to extinguish. "Looks like we're stuck here for a while," he said, scratching his head as he peered out at the alien landscape. Their banter was abruptly interrupted by a crackling transmission that cut through the static like a knife. It was garbled at first, but soon resolved into a coherent warning. "Beware, Dusty the Dirty, chaos, grime." John exchanged a glance with Jill. "Dusty the Dirty? Sounds like my kind of villain." "Of course you'd say that," Jill replied with a hint of exasperation. "But if he's anywhere near as infamous as they say, we might have more than just repairs to worry about." Together, they began deciphering the cryptic message, piecing together fragments of data that hinted at a much larger predicament. The transmission spoke of Dusty's penchant for disorder and his nefarious plans involving quantum energy, a resource abundant in this mysterious nebula. John leaned back in his chair, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Looks like we've got ourselves an adventure." "And possibly a nemesis," Jill added, her tone both teasing and foreboding. As they continued to unravel the mystery behind Dusty the Dirty and their unexpected detour to this uncharted planet, John couldn't help but feel a familiar thrill coursing through him. Sure, he was far from home and stranded on an unknown world with only his holographic wife for company, but wasn't that what made life exciting? The chapter closed on John's determined expression as he prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did he know just how peculiar and perilous his journey would become in this nebula of wonders and woes. Chapter 2, Dusty Dilemmas. John Smith had faced many challenges in his career as a space ranger, but nothing quite like this. As he stepped out of the SS Quirky into the field of glowing mushrooms, he was greeted not by hostile aliens or treacherous terrain, but by an unexpected smell: lavender. The air was crisp and fresh, a stark contrast to the chaos inside his ship. Jill's holographic form flickered beside him, her expression hovering between amusement and disbelief. "Well, at least it doesn't smell like impending doom," she quipped, her digital eyes scanning the landscape. "Yeah, but I've got a feeling there's more to this place than meets the nose," John replied, his instincts honed by years of unexpected encounters. The planet's surface stretched out before them, a patchwork of bioluminescent flora that cast an ethereal glow across the landscape. But before John could take another step, a peculiar sight caught his attention. A procession of aliens marching toward him with single-minded determination. They were short, squat creatures with vibrant green skin and oversized heads that seemed to wobble precariously on their shoulders. Each one wielded what appeared to be a vacuum cleaner, brandishing them like weapons. "Uh-oh," John muttered under his breath. "Looks like we've got company." The lead alien, distinguishable by a particularly elaborate vacuum strapped to its back, approached with a stern expression. Its voice was surprisingly melodic as it addressed John. "Halt! By order of the Clean Council, you are under suspicion of being Dusty the Dirty." John's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Dusty the Dirty? Me? You must have me mistaken for someone else," he protested, raising his hands in surrender. The alien leader squinted suspiciously. "You bear the mark of grime," it declared, pointing accusingly at John's dusty boots. Jill couldn't resist chiming in. "I did tell you to clean those before we left." "Not helping, Jill," John whispered through gritted teeth before turning back to the aliens. "Look, I'm just a space ranger whose ship decided to take a nosedive into your lovely planet. I promise I'm not here to spread dirt." The alien leader hesitated, its antennae twitching thoughtfully. "If you are not Dusty, then prove it. Assist us in capturing him and clearing our world of his filth." John glanced at Jill, who gave a subtle nod of encouragement. "All right," he said, adopting his most convincing tone of sincerity. "I'm in. But first, I need parts to fix my ship." The alien leader considered this for a moment before gesturing for John to follow. "Very well, stranger. We shall provide what you need if you help us rid our world of Dusty's menace." As they made their way through the alien settlement, a pristine village where every surface sparkled with cleanliness, John couldn't help but marvel at the inhabitants' obsession with hygiene. The streets were lined with self-polishing cobblestones, and automated scrubbers patrolled alleyways with relentless efficiency. "I've never seen anything like this," John remarked quietly to Jill as they passed a group of aliens meticulously polishing a statue made entirely of soap. "It's like they're allergic to dirt," Jill observed with bemusement. Their guide led them to a central building adorned with banners depicting Dusty the Dirty, an ominous figure draped in shadow and grime. Inside, John was introduced to the Clean Council, a group of elder aliens whose robes shimmered with an immaculate sheen. "We have intercepted transmissions indicating Dusty plans to harness our planet's quantum energy," one of the council members explained gravely. "If successful, he will turn our Nebula into a haven for filth." John nodded, recalling the cryptic message they had received upon landing. "We can't let that happen," he agreed, "but I'll need more information about Dusty's whereabouts and any defenses he might have." The council exchanged glances before another member spoke up. "Our intelligence suggests he is hiding in the caves beneath Mount Purity, a place where even our vacuums dare not tread." Jill interjected from her digital perch. "I've been accessing your planetary database and found some interesting anomalies near those coordinates," she reported. "Dusty's definitely up to something." With their mission clear, John set off with renewed determination. As he navigated the labyrinthine streets of the alien village, he encountered several comical misunderstandings, one involving an overzealous alien mistaking his hair for a dust bunny, and another where he narrowly avoided being doused in industrial-strength sanitizer. Despite these mishaps, John found himself enjoying the camaraderie of his peculiar new allies. Their unwavering dedication to cleanliness was both endearing and admirable, even if their methods were occasionally over the top. As they prepared for their journey to Mount Purity, Jill provided a crucial update. "I've managed to hack into Dusty's communication network," she announced triumphantly. "It seems he's planning to activate some kind of quantum disruptor within the next solar cycle." John frowned at this revelation. "Then we don't have much time," he said grimly. Their path ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, But John felt confident in their ability to thwart Dusty's scheme, with a little ingenuity and a lot of humor. As they departed the village, accompanied by a small contingent of vacuum-wielding guards for protection, John couldn't help but reflect on how quickly life had turned topsy-turvy since crash landing on this enigmatic planet. "Ready for another adventure?" he asked Jill as they approached the towering silhouette of Mount Purity against the twilight sky. "Always," she replied with a smile in her voice. Together, they marched forward into the unknown, a space ranger and his holographic partner on a quest to save the Nebula from Dusty the Dirty's dastardly designs. The chapter closed on their determined figures silhouetted against the setting sun, a promise of excitement and hilarity still to come in this cosmic caper. Chapter 3, Quantum Quandaries. The journey to Mount Purity was anything but straightforward. John, Jill, and their new ally Scrubs, a quirky alien janitor with an unparalleled zeal for cleanliness, found themselves navigating a landscape that defied every rule of logic and physics John had ever known. As they trekked through fields where the grass seemed to grow in spirals and rivers flowed uphill, John's mind was abuzz with thoughts about Dusty the Dirty. The villain's reputation for chaos was well-deserved, and John couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap as convoluted as the terrain itself. Scrubs, who had been assigned by the Clean Council to assist them, was a small, wiry creature with oversized eyes and an infectious enthusiasm for all things sanitary. He carried a backpack brimming with cleaning supplies which clinked softly as he walked. "Mount Purity," he said, his voice a mix of awe and reverence, "is the cleanest place on our planet. Or at least it was before Dusty arrived." John chuckled, unable to resist teasing the earnest janitor. "Well, with you around, I'm sure it'll be spotless again in no time." Scrubs beamed at the compliment. "That's the spirit. A little elbow grease and a lot of disinfectant can work wonders." Jill's holographic form flickered beside them, her expression wry. "Let's just hope Dusty's not as immune to cleaning products as he is to common decency." Their path soon led them into a forest of towering trees whose leaves shimmered like polished glass. As they walked beneath the crystalline canopy, John noticed something peculiar. The leaves appeared to be absorbing light from the surrounding environment, creating an effect that was both beautiful and unsettling. "Photosynthetic prisms," Jill noted, her digital eyes scanning the data. "They convert light into energy with near-perfect efficiency. No wonder Dusty wants control of this planet's resources." John nodded thoughtfully. "And if he succeeds in disrupting the quantum energy here, it could spell disaster for more than just this nebula." The weight of their mission settled over them like a tangible force as they continued their trek. Along the way, they encountered various oddities. Sentient soap bubbles that floated lazily through the air, giggling as they popped against tree trunks, gravity-defying dust storms that swirled harmlessly around them, leaving not a speck on their clothes. Through it all, Scrubs provided a steady stream of comic relief with his relentless pursuit of cleanliness. At one point, he insisted on polishing each soap bubble they passed, much to John's amusement and Jill's exasperation. As they neared Mount Purity, the landscape began to change. The air grew cooler and carried a faint metallic tang that set John's nerves on edge. The ground beneath their feet transitioned from soft earth to smooth stone, etched with intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the dim light. "We're getting close," Jill remarked, her voice tinged with anticipation. "Dusty's lair should be just beyond this ridge." John tightened his grip on his makeshift weapon, a mop handle reinforced with duct tape and optimism, and steeled himself for what lay ahead. The plan he had concocted was as unconventional as it was risky, relying heavily on the planet's quantum anomalies and Scrubs' extensive collection of cleaning supplies. As they crested the ridge, Dusty's hideout came into view, a sprawling complex nestled within the mountain's hollow core. The structure was an eyesore against the pristine backdrop, its walls stained with grime and neglect. Jill projected a holographic map of the facility, highlighting key areas of interest. "According to my scans, Dusty's central command is located in the main chamber. If we can disable his disruptor device, it should neutralize his plans." John nodded, formulating a strategy in his mind. We'll need to create a diversion to draw his attention away from us long enough to get inside. Scrubs perked up at this suggestion. "I've got just the thing," he exclaimed, rummaging through his backpack until he produced a canister labeled Super Sudsy Solution. "This stuff creates bubbles so big they'll block out the sun." John grinned at the janitor's enthusiasm. "Perfect. We'll use that to cover our approach." With their plan set in motion, they descended toward the complex under cover of darkness. As Scrubs unleashed his bubble barrage, John and Jill slipped through the shadows toward Dusty's command center. Inside, Dusty was exactly as John imagined, a rotund figure cloaked in layers of dirt and debris, his eyes gleaming with malevolent glee as he monitored his disruptor device. "Ah, Ranger Smith," Dusty drawled when he spotted John entering the chamber. "I was wondering when you'd show up to spoil my fun." John smirked at the villain's bravado. "Sorry to burst your bubble, Dusty," he quipped, gesturing to the mop handle in his hand. "But it's time for a little spring cleaning." With that, chaos erupted in the chamber. Jill projected herself into Dusty's path, her holographic form dancing with mischief as she taunted him with quick-witted jabs. "Didn't anyone ever teach you about tidying up after yourself?" she chided playfully. Meanwhile, John maneuvered through the chaos with practiced agility, using his mop handle to knock over precarious stacks of junk and create obstacles for Dusty's henchmen. Scrubs joined the fray with gusto, wielding his cleaning supplies like weapons of war. Clouds of soap suds filled the room as he unleashed torrents of sudsy foam upon their adversaries. Amidst the pandemonium, John reached the disruptor device, a hulking contraption bristling with wires and pulsing with ominous energy. With Jill's guidance and Scrub's assistance, he worked quickly to dismantle its components. "Time to pull the plug on your operation," John declared triumphantly as he severed the final connection. The disruptor sputtered and died with a pitiful whine, its power source extinguished. In its place remained only silence, broken by Dusty's outraged sputtering as he realized his scheme had been foiled. With their mission accomplished, and Dusty captured by their vacuum-wielding allies who had arrived just in time for cleanup duty, literally, the trio made their way back outside where dawn was breaking over Mount Purity. As they stood together beneath the rising sun, John triumphant yet weary, Jill amused yet proud, Scrubs eager yet exhausted, they reflected on their adventure with satisfaction. "You know," John mused aloud as he gazed out at the horizon painted in hues of orange and gold, "I think we might make quite a team after all." Jill smiled warmly beside him while Scrubs nodded fervently in agreement. Together, as partners bound by friendship forged amidst cosmic quirks, they prepared themselves for whatever new challenges awaited them beyond this Nebula nuisance. And beyond. The chapter closed on this note, a promise sealed not just by words, but by deeds done amidst laughter shared between friends old and new alike, setting stage anew for further escapades, yet unseen across galaxies, far-flung yet familiar, still within hearts united thusly here today. Chapter 4, Nebula Neatness. The air was crisp with the scent of victory, as John, Jill, and Scrubs emerged from the shadowed depths of Mount Purity. The first rays of sunlight danced across the landscape, painting it in vibrant hues that seemed to pulse with renewed energy. As they stood at the mountain's base, a sense of accomplishment washed over them, mingled with the lingering adrenaline of their recent triumph. Who knew saving a planet would be this clean? John quipped, brushing a speck of dust from his shoulder. His eyes twinkled with the humor that had carried him through countless escapades. Jill, her holographic form shimmering in the morning light, responded with her usual dry wit. "I suppose you could say we've made a tidy profit from this adventure." Scrubs chuckled beside them, his oversized eyes gleaming with pride. "Mount Purity is pure once more, and Dusty's dirt empire has been scrubbed away for good." Their moment of levity was interrupted by the arrival of the Clean Council, who approached with an entourage of grateful citizens. The council leader, a stately figure adorned in robes that seemed to sparkle with their own inner light, stepped forward to address them. "On behalf of our people," the leader intoned, their voice resonating with genuine gratitude, "we thank you for your bravery and ingenuity. Your actions have preserved not only our home, but the very essence of cleanliness we hold dear." John offered a modest nod. "We were just doing what needed to be done," Besides, he added with a grin, it's not every day you get to take down a villain like Dusty the Dirty. The council leader smiled warmly. And for that, we are eternally grateful. In honor of your deeds, we invite you to join us in celebrating our newfound freedom with a festival. Jill raised an eyebrow in surprise. A festival? What kind? Scrubs bounced on his toes with excitement. A cleaning festival. It's our tradition to celebrate by purifying every corner of our village. It's quite the spectacle. John exchanged a glance with Jill, amusement dancing in his eyes. Well, how can we refuse an offer like that? Count us in. As preparations for the festival began in earnest, John and Jill took a moment to reflect on their journey. The path had been fraught with challenges and peculiarities, each more bizarre than the last, but it had also been filled with laughter and camaraderie. They had faced Dusty's chaos head-on and emerged victorious, their bond strengthened by adversity. Do you ever think about how we ended up here? John mused aloud as they watched villagers stringing garlands of soap bubbles across the square. Jill's voice softened with affection. Every day, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Their conversation was interrupted by Scrub's enthusiastic return, his arms laden with supplies for the upcoming festivities. Come on, you have to see this, he urged, leading them toward the heart of the village where preparations were underway. The scene that unfolded before them was one of joyful chaos. Aliens of all shapes and sizes bustled about, armed with brooms, mops, and buckets filled with sparkling water. A band played lively tunes on instruments fashioned from recycled materials, while children chased after bubbles that floated lazily through the air. In the center of it all stood a towering structure, a monument crafted entirely from soap that glistened in the sunlight like a beacon of cleanliness. This is amazing, John remarked, genuinely impressed by the scale and enthusiasm of the celebration. Scrubs beamed proudly beside him. We pour our hearts into this festival every year. It's a reminder that no matter how dirty things get, there's always a way to clean up. As the festivities reached their peak, John found himself drawn into the spirit of the event. He joined in games that involved balancing buckets on one's head while navigating obstacle courses made of foam. He laughed as Jill projected herself into various holographic forms to entertain the children. He marveled at Scrub's ability to turn even mundane tasks into acts of joy. The hours slipped by in a blur of activity until finally, as dusk settled over the village, the council leader called for silence. Tonight, they proclaimed solemnly yet joyfully, we honor those who have restored purity to our world. With that declaration came an explosion, not one of destruction but of color, as fireworks crafted from bioluminescent spores illuminated the night sky above Mount Purity. The spectacle was breathtaking, a tapestry woven from light itself that danced across their faces like stardust come alive. Amidst this celebration stood John Smith, a space ranger whose journey had begun with a crash landing into unknown territory, and now concluded here, amidst friends both old and new beneath skies filled with wonderment beyond measure. As he watched those fireworks paint stories upon celestial canvas high above them all, stories born not just from words, but deeds done bravely amidst laughter shared freely between hearts, united thusly here today, he knew there would be many more adventures yet awaiting him out there among stars still uncharted beyond this Nebula Nuisance. And so it was that when dawn broke anew upon horizon next morn, they bid farewell once more unto these shores, now known well enough till next time, perhaps when fate might call again some day henceforth yet unseen, still somewhere far away, cross galaxies wide open, still ever onward, ever forward, evermore. With laughter echoing softly still within ears, long after echoes themselves faded away into silence once more, they took flight once again aboard SS Quirky, bound forth toward futures bright awaiting them eagerly somewhere out there beyond nebulous horizons, yet discovered only thus far. Thus did chapter close here today, a promise sealed not just by words spoken aloud nor deeds done bravely amidst laughter, shared freely between hearts united thusly here today, but also by hope itself shining brightly ever onward, ever forward, evermore.